Thank you once again for attending our weekly masterclasses. Today we're going to talk about a new service that we're about to launch, which we believe will be an essential component to every landlord and will help landlords to successfully navigate their portfolios in a way which will help them grow their portfolios and make sure that they're actually tuned into what they're looking to achieve. So that's the intention there. I'm going to just race through this bit. You've all been on the masterclass where I've run through who I am and what I do, so I'm not going to repeat that. There's just a little bit about me up on the screen there. And today we're going to be talking primarily about the Hawkhurst Invest brand and that service offering. So what we're going to do, I'm going to talk about the investor portfolio review service, and then I'll take you through the current portfolio and just give you a reminder of what we've got and why we've got it and what's good about it, and go from there basically. So what we found is we either meet two types of people, either aspirational investors who have never done this before and they're looking for some guidance and assistance on how to get started and how to continue making a good job of it, or people who are already landlords and they might be running their portfolios really successfully, or they might be, sometimes people do things on a bit of a wing and a prayer, and they've inherited a portfolio, or if they kind of cobbled it together over a period of time, and things have happened more through luck than judgment. And I see that's an awful lot. And it's a pity because with a little bit of planning, a portfolio, in my view, can be built up efficiently and can actually get the investor what they're looking to achieve just with a little bit of planning. So what we wanted to do was to provide a service where we can provide that. And where this all started, when the tax rules changed, and which basically meant that you could no longer offset your expenses as a sole trader in the same way that you used to be able to. There are an awful lot of landlords out there at the moment with properties that they own in their own names, and they're going to want to start thinking about what to do with those properties now, because the pain point will be now from April of this year. And so a lot of them will sell their properties, and some of them will need to kind of have a bit of a helping hand to help them decide what the right thing to do is. So this is what's driven this service, but it's not just for people in that situation, but they're a prime example of people that we can help right now. So I'll run through that with you now. So the content, and I'll run through each of these in sequence. We believe that having a cash flow forecast report as an investor is a really good idea. We believe that if we provide you with a cash flow forecast report showing your current situation, that's a good place to start. That we can then build in scenarios and show you the impacts of different scenarios and how that is actually going to manifest itself financially for you as well. So that cash flow forecasting, we're actually going to be running a session on that in 3 weeks' time. So I would encourage you all to tune in for that particular session, because cash flow forecasting is an integral part of running a property portfolio successfully. So, but this forms part of the overall portfolio review. And then just in conversation a moment ago, you heard us asking Leslie if we'd sent her a brochure on Boston in Lincolnshire. And what we started doing is putting together brochures for all of the cities and towns throughout the United Kingdom where we have had investors purchase properties. We've got a brochure, and that brochure will always be work in progress and will be regularly updated. And things that in that brochure will be the selling points of the location, who the employers are, the transport links, the schools, key features, reasons why people would want to visit that town or city, and reasons why people would want to live there as well. There will also be a section in each brochure about property prices and how they're behaving at the moment and how they've behaved historically. So it just means that you can have a really good overview of a city or a town. If you don't know the area very well, this brochure will give you everything that you need to know in terms of making decisions from an investment perspective. So just imagine someone comes to us, they've got 10 properties. We get them all onto a cash flow forecast report so we can see graphs and so forth about how it's working, and including basically a profit and loss account for the property business. And then if those 10 properties are in 10 different towns, let's say they're in Boston, Leicester, Peterborough, Leeds, Newcastle, Liverpool, Manchester, Sheffield, Nottingham and Derby, then we have a brochure for each of those towns and cities. And those brochures will form part of that review, because there are some people who might not have visited those areas ever, or not for a long time, and it'd be really useful for them to know the reason I bought this property 10 years ago. Is it still a good location for me to be having a property, or should I be moving my property on? And then we'll conduct an individual property review. So we'll go through each property and review it. There's an option for a tax review. I'll talk about these in more detail in a moment. And then a goal and outcome review. Are your current properties still aligned with your aspirations and goals? And then an action plan. So we'll get the cash flow forecast report. We'll give you all the information on the towns and cities. We'll conduct an individual review of each property, get an accountant to conduct a tax review, run through your goals and outcomes, and then set some actions. And then you've got a decisive way forward with your portfolio. So the individual property review, what's that going to look like? So we'll have a PDF brochure that's how it will be presented to you in the PDF brochure. What we want to look at is look at the purchase price and the purchase date of each property within your portfolio. We then want to have a look at the initial rental income and have a clear indication of what the gross and net yield is. Then we'll get the current Zoopla value, and we will then assess the percentage change in value since purchase. We'll then have a look at the current rental value, gross and net yield. We'll then cross-reference that with the Savills and Price Waterhouse outlook for the next 5 years and the predicted effects on these properties' value as well. So the whole idea with this is basically we're trying to establish what the future potential is of each property in the portfolio. Has that property reached its ceiling for the property type in that particular area? Because if it has, is it then worth considering moving that property on, releasing the equity, and then reinvesting into something else? Now, obviously, if this is owned in a sole trader entity, the additional bonus, a bit of selling that property, will then be to then reinvest through a limited company. So it's always nice to have more than one reason to do something. Here we go, potential capital that could be raised against the property. So the property's gone up in value and you want to keep it because you believe that it's going to continue to go up in value and it's a good property. You might decide to, let's say it's at 50% loan to value at the moment. You might explore taking it to 75% loan to value and then reinvesting the proceeds into further purchases. So once we've had a look at the property, then we need to have a look at the tax situation. Now, you might have your own accountant that can do this for you, and that's absolutely fine. That's why I cite it as an optional part of this service. We have a collaboration with a couple of accountants who are happy to provide the service on an ad hoc basis and as and when needed. So a professional accountant to review the current tax liabilities. So if we've got a property that has reached its ceiling, there might be a fair bit of equity trapped in that property, and maybe if it's a property in the south of England, the rental yield is likely to be not as good perhaps as it would be in the Midlands and the North. So 2 to 3% rental yield, the chances are the loan to value on that property is going to be low, probably between 30 and 40%. And it's quite frustrating to know that you could have 70% trapped in the property of equity that you can't do anything with it. So it would be really, really sensible to get an idea from an accountant to work out what your capital gains tax is going to be on disposal of the properties in your portfolio. And I believe wholeheartedly that every year that's something that you should get checked out, because then you might start to prioritize and start to build a plan. And the other important thing here is that we've all got allowances for capital gains tax every year. So by doing this, you can start to plan how you dispose of properties, in which tax year you're going to actually do that. And then you can link that in with your mortgages, because you're going to want to make sure that you coincide it perhaps with the end of a fixed rate, so that you're not having to pay redemption penalties unnecessarily. Mm. So already you can see here how by having a 360-degree view on your portfolio, it puts you in the driving seat to make the decisions that are right for you as an investor, basically. The accountant can also provide a one-off a service to work out whether or not you should trade as a sole trader or a limited company. That could be helpful as well. The goal and outcome review. We'll send you a lifestyle questionnaire, starting with why. Why are you doing this? What's the outcome that you desire? Is it for retirement? Is it phased retirement? Is it early retirement? Is it to help fund your children's education? Is it to provide a second income? Is it to provide an escape from a career that you don't like anymore, or never liked in the first place in some instances? And just understanding what your why is will help us and help you navigate your decision making with a lot more authority. So that's a really good questionnaire to fill in. Also, if you are a seasoned investor, there's no point trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. So we want to know what you like and what you don't like. Do you have an appetite for HMOs? Do you prefer houses to flats, freehold to leasehold? There's nothing more annoying than being sent properties that run contrary to your values and your criteria. It's the old, so nobody wants that. So if we can get an understanding of what you like and what you don't like, then we can make sure that we send you only relevant properties that fit your criteria. Now, every now and then, you get clients who suggest preferences that run contrary to what they're trying to achieve. And all that means is that there's an education process that we need to go through to make sure that you fully understand what it is that you're looking to achieve and where the problems lie. And we'll make sure that you understand that something might make perfect sense from an investment perspective, but there might be a mortgage broker might contradict from his perspective or her perspective because there's a challenge with getting a mortgage on that type of property. And then the conveyancing solicitor might come along and say, well, actually, have you thought about this when it comes to sell and this issue over here? So this is all about making sure, again, that we have a 360-degree perspective on the portfolio to make sure that we're not going to run into any problems, and to make sure that all the professionals' opinions are respected, understood, and to work together with them on that basis. So that questionnaire is probably the most important starting point. Another thing that we're going to be including is a mindset challenge. So the best way to explain this, I don't know if any of you have ever been disc profiled before. It's becoming more and more popular now. You can ask people a series of questions, which the way they answer the questions, there'll always be multiple choice questions, will help you to determine what type of personality they have, and therefore what they're suited towards. So this is just a series of questions, perhaps 10 questions that we'll be posing to potential investors, to give them 10 scenarios and give them 4 different reactions to those scenarios. So basically, if your letting agent calls you up at 6 p.m. one evening to say that you've got the tenants decided to hand in their notice and leave the property in a couple of months' time, are you going to kind of crumble into a heap on the floor and have an anxiety attack, or are you going to have a measured perspective on it? So it's just trying to understand where along the line people are with their, and that then helps us as an organisation manage the quality of our communication with that client, to make sure that if they do need some extra TLC, that we can provide it for them, or if they're really kind of resilient and gung-ho, then we can again adjust the way that we work with them accordingly. I guess all we're trying to do here is just make sure that we can match the client's needs as closely as possible. And also, if we do have an investor that is so risk averse and so cautious, then I would seriously challenge whether they get involved in property in the first place. I mean, I've got friends of mine I know who I wouldn't let them anywhere near property, and it's a traditional financial planning approach for them is absolutely fine. And then and equally, some people who are so reckless on the other side of the spectrum that it would be quite dangerous to let them near the property portfolio as well. So I think it's a balanced approach. And then an objective summary. So just looking at goals, the ultimate goal might be retirement planning, but the good thing about property, the great thing about property, is it can help you achieve other goals along the way. What I like is that you can use it to help your kids' education. It can then help them get on the property ladder, and then it can help you with your retirement, and it can do all of those things at different milestones throughout your life. And this is something which I believe should be reviewed quite regularly. Reminding people of why they've got involved. If they have a drama with their portfolio and they're having a really rubbish week where it feels like everything is going wrong for them, just keeping their eye on the prize and reminding them why they're doing this is a good idea. And then an action plan. Where is the cash coming from to invest? Is it coming from savings, pensions if they're age 55 or above, or from equity from existing properties? Investment strategy from available cash, working out the portfolio, the order of purchase, the investment split across direct property, and then maybe using loan notes as well to supplement that. And yeah, I think I said this already, the order of investment, which properties are we going to go for first? And this will come down to what's available at the time. The mortgage broker will be central to this part of the conversation, because if you're going to buy 5 properties, probably not a good idea to put 5 mortgage applications in at the same time, because there'll be 5 credit checks and the final 2 might bounce. So what we tend to do is try and stagger. So maybe we'll put 2 applications in month 1, and then if there's 3 more to buy, a month at a time after that. And actually that makes pretty good sense, because from an overwhelm perspective, unless you're super organised, that the prospect of buying 5 properties at the same time and your conveyancing solicitor sending you 5 packs kind of that thick each landing on your doorstep, even I would look at that and think I'd rather like to procrastinate than not look at that for a few days or weeks. So by spreading out the load of paperwork, it's a pretty good idea to consider doing it that way too. So we charge £1,995 plus VAT for an investor portfolio review, and we're going to be launching that next week. We're having our websites rebuilt at the moment, so we'll have a full detailed outline of that service on the website when that's launched in a couple of months' time as well. But we'll be promoting this on social media as well. And if anybody would like to find out more about that, then probably the best thing to do is to book a one-to-one with me, where I can find out a bit more about what you're looking to achieve, and actually assess whether you need this, because not everyone's going to need this service. If you're starting from scratch, you don't need this service. This is for people who've probably got 4 or 5 properties plus. Then it can be a really good idea just to kind of get under the bonnet of your portfolio and really understand what it's doing for you.
Gavin, could I just ask?
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's an amazing idea. I can see how really useful and valuable that would be for people going forward. Would there be? Does it include like a yearly review?
Yes. So this would all start. Let's say you do this in January. Pay you £1,995 plus VAT. We'll assemble the review for you. Now, part of that review, don't forget, is a cash flow forecast report. So within that, there would be a pre-review anyway, in addition to the initial meeting that you have. You also have the opportunity, if any of your circumstances change, you change job, or you sell a property, anything like that, all you have to do is let us know, and we will update the cash flow forecast report for you, no extra cost within that first year. And then yes, I think what we'll be doing is providing a regular, like a smaller fee, which we've yet to work out. So I'm thinking that perhaps if we had a system where investors could have this updated every year, but because most of the hard work's been done, we don't need to charge a huge amount to make sure that the information is consistent and up to date, and updated brochures are included within the pack. And maybe we have it on a Dropbox for the client, something of that nature. So maybe with this, maybe we charge £395 plus VAT per year, or we'll assess how much work is involved beyond the cash flow forecast report, which I think will be the biggest things that will need updating.
Yeah.
So we'll have a look. But I just think, yeah, if we can, that's something then that a client can, and wouldn't this be a brilliant way to have a review meeting with a client and say, look, it's time for your annual review. And you either come in and see us, or we have a meeting on Zoom. We get your portfolio review updated and use it as a benchmark to help you making some strong decisions. We had a client who's completing next week on one of the Hartley Street properties in Boston. They'd never been to Boston before. They'd never had any reason to go there before. And they had this preconceived kind of idea of what it was like. And I think they were expecting it to be a bit grotty. Once we were out of the initial phase of lockdown, we managed to get them to get a viewing for them. So they went up, and my contacts up there drove them around the town, and they were really pleasantly surprised. So I think to have a brochure that can give you a really good overview of the area beforehand. Another thing we're going to be doing, just aside from the portfolio review, is also having walkthrough videos of every property that we're going to be promoting on our portfolio, and like good quality photographs. So we're really going to try and up the ante and make sure that everything that we provide is of the highest quality. To help people, basically to help busy people who are doing other things, put them in the driving seat. Because whilst there are a lot of people that not everybody wants to go and view properties. Some people are happy with the facts and figures once they've been established clients of ours for a while. But there are people out there who do want to go and view, and if we can give them the confidence to go and view and know they're not going to have a wasted journey because they already have a really good understanding of what the area is like, and they've seen a walkthrough video. And they've spoken to the letting agent on the phone that's going to be managing it for them, then they can go there with confidence. Most people want to go for the second view, go and have a look for themselves, but how many letting agents have been let down by people not turning up for viewings? It must drive them, it must be soul destroying to be hanging around at a property. You confirmed this an hour beforehand and they don't bother coming along because something else has cropped up. So this will prevent that time wasting from happening.